Just finished recording a really great conversation with Chris Lisle, talking about his 33-year career in the industry, but also talking about his organization that I believe he co-founded or founded and has a partner in it or whatever it is, but it is called the Touring Career Workshop. So Chris Lisle Lighting Design is his company, CLLD LLC, I think is his company. But Touring Career Workshop, very, very important organization that provides anything from mental health support to sort of human resources for touring professionals. And I think it's something that's always been needed. It's a very, very important topic, a very important group that helps people on tax planning, helps people on investment planning, just helps you be more of a professional and understand the things that you don't know. So very good organization, great guy. I hope you enjoy the podcast as much as I enjoyed recording it. Thanks. Hi, and thanks for joining me today on Geezers of Gear, episode number 255. Today's podcast is brought to you by Elation. Elation is excited to offer Soul, a radiant new series of creative LED blinder and effects solutions that marries cutting-edge technology with artistic ingenuity. Soul is available in single-cell, 2 or 4-cell designs and offers endless configuration possibilities for easy assembly of unique shapes and creative arrays. Multiple lenses and mounting options, coupled with a host of front accessories, allow designers to craft unique visual experiences tailored to each performance or event. Blazingly bright and ideal for magical eye candy looks, Soul seamlessly integrates into any stage or event setting, offering endless creative potential. And Soul is IP65 rated, so you can use it anywhere. Check out Soul today at elationlighting.com. And today's podcast is also brought to you by Main Light, a national dry hire rental provider who specializes in supplying the latest lighting and stage equipment technology. Main Light's extensive rental inventory includes moving lights, truss solutions, control consoles, LEDs, and an array of weather-resistant IP65 fixtures perfect for outdoor venues. Whether for theater productions, outdoor stadium events, or TV film broadcasts, Main Light is the partner you trust with the gear you want. Committed to quality and reliability, Main Light also provides a robust selection of used sales options to their clients. Each item is meticulously maintained, owned by Main Light, and comes with a 60-day depot warranty, providing you with confidence in your purchase. Strategically located across the U.S., their 4 key locations include Teterboro, New Jersey, Wilmington, Delaware, Nashville, Tennessee, and Las Vegas, Nevada. They combine the vast resources of a national company with the attentive, personalized service of a local provider. Discuss how Main Light can equip your next event by visiting mainlight.com today to get a direct quote through their comprehensive online ordering platform. Hello, and again, thanks for joining me back for Geezers of Gear, episode number 255. And so if you haven't heard the latest podcast, Scott DeVos, excellent, awesome, great guy. He's, I think, fresh into retirement, but probably still doing the odd gig, and just enjoying the hell out of his life. He's got great stories. He only had time to tell about probably 10% of them, so we're going to have him back on at some point. And also him and I off the air talked about a really cool idea for LDI this year, which I believe we're going to be launching under the Geezers of Gear banner. And more on that soon. I can't tell you yet, but I will tell you soon, and it's going to be fun. So look for that one. This week, no real big updates on AI. A lot going on, obviously, as there is every week, but I just didn't have time to go discover a lot of it. But yes, there is stuff happening in AI, and I promise to come back to you on the next episode, which I will be recording tomorrow, and I'll be much better prepared. So, with that said, trying to think if there's any really cool, exciting industry gossip that I need to share with you, and I can't think of anything right now. Obviously, a ton of things going on, lots of big tours. I was talking with someone recently who told me that between the fall and next year, it's the biggest pipeline he's had in his entire career as far as shows coming up. And so that's a good sign, because overall we're hearing lots and lots about, I'm sure you heard about the layoffs that have happened. Martin laid off some people, some very key people, including, I believe, Jim Fuller, who, as I recall, I think I hired Jim, and I left Martin in 97. So he's been there for a long, long time, from 97 until today at least. And I don't want to speak out of turn here or anything, but certainly a good guy who has attached his wagon to the Martin brand for a very long time. And unfortunately, this is corporate business today in the lighting industry and sound and touring and everything else. I mean, it's all about what have you done for me lately at this point. And I'm not slamming Martin because they're not the only one. I've heard, and again, this is just a rumor, so I haven't confirmed it or anything, but I heard Verilight cut about 10% of their staff. I heard Ari has cut about 300 people. And there are other companies as well. So there's a lot going on out there. And not all good, but fortunately, our industry is still doing really well. People are telling me about huge stuff going on between now and next year. And so I think overall we're in a good place. I think we're seeing a bit of a blip right now. I think there's sort of a shift happening, a changing of the guard as it relates to just sales and progress and stuff that's happening in our industry. So let's see, of course, if anything comes to me, I'll let you know. I'm happy to share that information with you at any time. And so with that said, today's guest I'm looking forward to, as I do all of them. I don't have a great relationship, or I should say I don't have much of a relationship with this gentleman. We haven't worked together much, I don't think. I've probably sold him some stuff over the years, but Chris Lisle has over 32 years experience in the entertainment industry. He has worked in a variety of roles, including production designer, lighting designer, production manager, show producer. Chris started Chris Lisle Lighting Design in 1991 and is also the co-founder and executive director of the Touring Career Workshop, which is a nonprofit that serves as human resources for tour production professionals, touring production professionals. So I'm really looking forward to talk about that particular thing because it's something where I believe we've needed help for a very long time. I know another group that was trying to set something up in that regard. Might even be the same group. I don't know. But looking forward to discussing that. Again, I think it's a huge need in our industry. And so please join me and welcome Chris Lisle to Geezers of Gear. Chris, hello. How are you?
I'm great. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm sniffling because it's smoky here. I'm up in the Canadian Rocky Mountains, and so I don't know if you know the area, but I'm really close to Banff.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
And so just up the road is Jasper, and Jasper has some pretty wicked forest fires going on right now, and so it's all blowing this direction for some reason. And so like yesterday was unbearable. We had to close all the doors and windows and stay inside all day because it was nasty yesterday.
But you're safe from the fires. You're good there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? We live on the side of a mountain in a forest, and so you're never totally safe from fires, right? But yeah, I mean, I've had this house 20 years, hasn't burnt down yet. Knock on my wooden head.
I love it.
Not that I'm tempting it to burn down or anything, but yeah, we're safe so far. I mean, they're pretty far away. Jasper's, I think, about a 3-hour drive from here, 2.5 to 3 hour drive. So,
you know what's funny? You say Jasper. We have two dogs, of which the oldest dog is a pug named Jasper, and
Oh,
I call him Methuselah because it is literally the oldest living creature that I know of. This dog's like, however old dogs can be, like he's past that. He's
oh,
blind,
really?
he's deaf, he runs into walls, but he's the kid's childhood pet. So we're keeping him around. He's still waddling around and he finds his food. So God bless
Yeah.
him. But yeah, that's when I hear Jasper, I think of poor Methuselah in there just talking to the wall.
That's hilarious. Uh, yeah. So, I mean, actually, if you ever get a chance to come to Alberta and to this area, the Canadian Rockies, Jasper is actually a really beautiful town. But unfortunately, just like the town that I live in, it's just gotten crazy expensive, crazy expensive. Like there's a pretty popular hotel called the Jasper Park Lodge, which I used to just go to for sort of a staycation, because you could get a room for $175 a night or something and spend a nice weekend there and have some dinners or whatever. Now it's like 6 or 7 or 1,000 a night or whatever. It's gotten stupid
Yeah.
to I'm so fortunate and grateful that like I've had this house for 20 years up here in Alberta. And for the first 17 years, I would come up with my now ex-wife and my son for 2 or 3 weeks every summer and then just loan it out to friends, rent it out occasionally if I could. And, but for the last few years, I've just spent the entire summer here. So I come up in May or June and go back in September or October. So it's fantastic. I love it.
That's awesome.
Very grateful.
Yeah.
And then Florida in the winters. So people say, that's perfect. You have the perfect situation. Well, it feels pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So where are you?
I'm in a suburb of Nashville, Brentwood, Tennessee. So I'm just southeast of town.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I grew up here. This is actually my home, Nashville is. And when my wife and I got married during the pandemic, and we, because none of us were working during the pandemic, it was hard to get a loan during the pandemic. So we had to wait a couple of years before we were able to finally get our home that would hold our whole flock of children that we have. And so we moved here last January and love it. It's been a great home for us. And
Oh, wow. Good for you. Yeah, good for you. That's fantastic. I haven't been to Nashville in a few years now. I know it changes every single year. It just keeps getting crazier. But it's such a great area. I love Tennessee. I love Nashville. It's such a great area, such a great city. I'm so happy to see what's happened with our industry in Nashville too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's even in my career. I'm on year 33 of my career, and I love watching what it's become beyond music, beyond the actual recording of music in Nashville. What production houses are here and the rehearsal facilities with Rock Nashville coming to town. It's become this hub for touring of all genres, and
absolutely,
it's a beautiful thing to see for sure.
I remember when it was just like Bandit and TLS, and a tour was a dozen I-beams. And, that was about it, and then all of a sudden country acts started carrying bigger rigs than rock and roll acts. And
right.
It was like, wait a second, what just happened?
Right.
So, and then it all just kind of blended there in Nashville, and you had rock and roll people, country people, everybody. So
yeah,
it's a
it's
cool,
a beautiful thing. It's, and I feel like, a different vendor opens a shop here every month, it feels like, but,
or more commonly buys one.
Yeah. Or there's that.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah.
But there seems to be enough work for everybody, and so everybody seems to be thriving and doing well from an outsider looking in on the vendor world. So
yeah,
feels good.
I hate to be a doomsdayer or anything, but imagine what it'd look like if God forbid there were a blip in our industry, similar to COVID, but maybe just impacting our industry for some reason, like some weird strike or something happened. It would really impact that local economy, you would think, because there are so many lighting, sound vendors, and everyone else, everything, busing companies, trucking companies, everybody based out of Nashville.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, that's hopefully we don't go through that. I think we all have our battle scars from 2020, 2021, and we made it.
Yeah.
And, hopefully we don't have to revisit that anytime soon.
I don't even like to talk about it anymore.
No,
it's just such a horrible period of time to look back to it. Every once in a while I go back and I'll watch one of those Zoom calls that I was doing during COVID. We were doing a weekly Zoom call every Wednesday. I don't remember if you ever joined it or not,
Hmm.
but some of them were super fun and really awesome, and some of them were just downright depressing. And they all served a purpose, but just what we went through as an industry and as a world, as a nation, as a whatever, as a humanity, what we went through was just insane.
It was absolutely
But
was. Yeah.
but yeah. So how's your summer going? Like you're crazy busy like
Oh
everybody
yeah.
else, or
We're busy. We do so many festivals now that summer is obviously peak festival season, and so yeah, we're busy.
yeah,
These days I'm bouncing my career between festival and tour lighting design, special event lighting design, but also doing some production management. Is something I've done. Even as a touring guy early in my career, I did some production management work, but also event production management. So between those hats that we wear, I mean, we've definitely had a busy year,
yeah,
and it's nice. I mean, talk about coming out of the pandemic. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful for work, and
yeah.
that's one thing I learned is to be grateful for what I have, and definitely feel that.
Oh, hell yeah. And also maybe to save some money. I
Yes,
think that's what a lot of friends of mine in the industry have been like, well, because, I fell into business like most people in our industry did. I didn't go to business school and say, I'm going to open a company that does this and this and this and this. I just kind of, okay, there's an opportunity. I'm going to go do that. And they tell you to keep a cash reserve on hand. And so what is that? Well, that's enough money to pay your bills and pay your staff for 30 to 60 days in case shit hits the fan,
sure,
basically. And, but nobody told you like 2 years.
right,
I
yeah.
didn't read that in any textbooks anywhere. 2 years of cash reserves.
Well,
I'm,
and the crazy thing, and I know you know this, but speaking on the touring side of things, touring historically has been cyclical where come November, December, people are, they're off for the year, minus a few Christmas tours. So
yeah,
November, December, January, maybe February are the slow times where you've been saving up all year for those 4 slow months. And so the pandemic hitting in mid-March when it did, or when the shutdown started occurring, came at a time where people were just getting ready to go back to work because they burned through all of
that's
their
interesting. I
savings.
didn't know that actually.
Yeah,
I never really thought of that, but you're exactly right. Like it came at the worst possible time for them.
absolutely.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
that was when they were going to go back into their big earning months.
exactly. March, April, rehearsals, getting to around the road for spring, summer, and it was just gone. And so, yeah, it hit at a horrible time for that in that regard.
Yeah. The depressing thing from all of that, or one of many depressing things, every once in a while, I'll send out like a group email like, hey, this killer new listing just came in on Gear Source. You got to see this because it's like, 80% below market price or something. And I'll get back a whole bunch of, domain no longer exists, domain no longer exists. Or I'll get back occasionally, you'll get back like a scripted response that says, Bob unfortunately is no longer with us. He passed
Yeah,
away in, June of 2020 or something. And I mean, all of those, like how many companies went out of existence during that time is
yeah,
so depressing because
it truly is.
as a small business guy like you, you know how hard it is. I mean, everyone thinks, oh man, you're so lucky you're your own boss and all of that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of days where I'm thinking, like, oh, that job over at Roby over there looks pretty good. Those guys get paid well and they paid you all the way through the pandemic and that kind of thing. Like, I mean, I haven't been paid in years because of that stuff.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's an interesting thing.
it is.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't really know much about your career. Like, I know we've been friends on Facebook for a
Mhm.
long time, but we haven't been friends in real life.
Right.
And so, how did you get started? Like you said, you started 33 years ago, I think,
Yeah.
which is about the same time I guess I started ish,
Yeah.
maybe a little longer,
Yeah.
but similar.
Yeah. I started in March of '91. My story, again, I grew up here in Nashville. I attempted college I went to MTSU. I was going to study advertising. I went down there in August of 1990, and by November of 1990, I was gone. I found that fraternities and hanging out with these at frat houses and drinking beer was more fun than going to class.
Yeah,
And
I
so,
get
yeah,
it.
I made it just a few months, and I dropped out. And then early '91 finds me working, delivering food. There's a place called Stakeout. We delivered steaks and hamburgers and stuff. And two of the delivery drivers had a band, and literally my career started by hanging out with these guys, getting to be friends with them, and one of them inevitably booking shows out in Oregon and Washington State, and going, "Hey, what do you think about coming on the road and running lights for us?" I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds cool. I know nothing about lights, but I love travel. I love music.
That's hilarious.
Let's learn lighting." And so I got paired up with a guy here in town named Tim Ranson. Tim had a company called Delta Stage Lighting. Unfortunately, they're out of
I
business now.
remember. I remember Tim, and I remember Delta. Yeah.
Yeah, Tim, a great man, really, really great man.
Yeah.
And he took me under his wing and taught me enough to get me out on this tour. And when I say tour, we had a converted bread truck, like literally a bread truck that held the gear. That two people rode in the bread truck, and the other four or five people rode in a. I think he had like a Toyota Celica or whatever he had, and we followed each other. We started in Birmingham, Alabama, and we drove all the way to Bend, Oregon, in these two vehicles.
Jesus.
Couple breakdowns along the way, and but anyways, we went out there and did these four shows, played some high schools and stuff, and it was I had so much fun. I was around live music, which I always loved, and I was in this state I'd never been to after going through states I'd never been to, and then just the creativity of light, which at that time was a Parcan rig, really drew me in. And then,
But before you got to Bend, Oregon, like, did you at least study the console or whatever the? I mean, it was probably like some two scene thing or
it
something,
was,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a Leprechaun two scene board.
But did you go in the shop and practice a little bit or something?
Yeah, I did. Tim, because it was Tim's gear, and he was renting it to this artist. He taught me how to build the system. He showed me the difference between a very narrow lamp, a narrow, a medium, and a wide. He showed me, about picking color gels and why you would use certain color combinations with what. But we're talking. I mean, I had a back truss with 16 par cans and two trees on the front with four par cans each, and that was it.
Uh,
A four-piece band on stage, and I thought this is the coolest thing. But yeah, I honestly, once I knew I was going to do this too, I went to a couple shows at 328 Performance Hall, which is a now gone music hall here in Nashville, and just watched. And I stood over by the LD and just watched, like, okay, oh, I see what they're doing. They're keeping in time with the kick drum, or they're hitting these snare hits. I see what's going on here. And I wasn't a musician. I've never, unfortunately, I just never had that opportunity to have music lessons growing up. But I loved music, and yeah, watched the LDs at these clubs, and then went out and tried my best to do the same thing. And I'm sure that those first few shows, I don't know if they exist on VHS, but they had to be awful. Um, I'm pretty sure I used Christmas colors on some heavy metal rock songs like Reds and Greens. I don't know, maybe that works,
funny.
but
Yeah.
but
Well,
it was
your
great.
timing might not have been great unless you had a background as a drummer a little bit too. That's one of the things that probably takes a bit of time to gather yourself on is getting good timing on the lighting.
Yeah, it
So it's
definitely.
not just flashing different colors all the time and oh, la, la, look at me.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm pretty sure that's what the first show was. I'm almost positive that it was
funny.
that bad. But you grow and you learn. That's my career has been a series of grow and learn lessons.
Yeah.
Finding your way and making mistakes and learning from them. So
Yeah. Well, that's how you do it. And a couple of things. So one, have you ever thought of what would your life look like if you stayed in advertising school?
I think about that every day.
Do you really?
Well, I mean,
In a
my
good way or
life.
a bad way?
Well, no, I've had. Look, I'm kind of in a some way. I mean, I'm the only one of my four siblings to drop. All, the other three siblings went and got college degrees and have excelled in their careers. When I dropped out, it was tough, for even
Yeah.
for parental, having to answer to my parents for what I had done after they put us all. My parents, we grew up blue collar, and they put all four of us through private school just to ensure we had a great education, and we did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I get to college and pissed it away.
Yeah.
But I had a fire inside of me, and I took that fire and I learned, I took it and made my career out of it what I could, and tried to prove that you didn't have to go to college to be successful.
Yeah.
And I feel like I did that.
Yeah. Good for you, man.
Yeah,
Good for you. Similar, I mean, not really that similar because I didn't have siblings who were competing with me going to college and all of those types of things. Growing up in Canada was a lot different because people didn't really go to college in the city that I grew up in. It was kind of like you barely made it through high school if you did, and then you went and got a job.
yeah,
And, I didn't want to do that. So I joined a band and, toured as a musician until I realized that I was spending 250 on beer every week and making 200.
yeah.
And the arithmetic didn't work, as George Bush used to say. Uh, so, that got me looking to, okay, I like music. I like concerts. I like all this stuff. How can I make a living without, losing money every week on the road?
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so that's interesting that you look back and you don't regret it
Not
because,
at all. 100%. No.
certainly, yeah, in the advertising world, you probably would have made more money, but you would have had a much more boring life.
No,
you know?
yeah, that and on it, this is my path. I'm doing what I
Yeah.
was called to
Good
do,
for you.
and
Good for
I'm
you.
serving my purpose. And honestly, now that I'm a father of four, we have a blended family of four kids. It is, I am a firm believer. I think college is great. I think if you're cut for that, and I think we need people for society to function that have college degrees, but it's not necessary.
I
And
agree with you.
all of our kids have taken different paths. And out of our four kids, we had one go to junior college and one is going to actual university. But we have a U.S. Marine, and then the youngest who wants to go to welding, wants to go to tech school and learn welding. And I love every bit of that. That's fun.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that too. And I love that you support that because I'm the same way with my son. Like I created a college fund for him when he was born. The money's there. And, he went down a different path being a racing driver for a while. But, now he's like, he's still driving, but he's also thinking what's next. And, he thinks he wants to be an entrepreneur. He thinks he wants to do similar to what I've done. He's pretty smart like that. And, my only advice to him is if you can do something that you love to do and get paid for it, you've won life.
Yeah.
You've basically won life. You're where you want to be, doing what you want to be doing. And guess what? It's also paying the bills. You've won.
Exactly.
So be passionate about what you're doing. Don't just, I could have made a lot more money in a lot of other industries than ours, but I really like the people and I really like the feel and the atmosphere and stuff in our industry. I like show business. And
I completely agree with you. I think
yeah,
it's a magical, dysfunctional world. There's no doubt about
yeah.
it.
So tell me more about the from that first band. So the first
Yeah.
weekend went pretty badly, and then what happened?
Well, we're driving home. We did these four shows. It was great. It was fine.
So you drove across the country just to do 4 shows.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm sure that wasn't profitable.
Yeah. No, there's no way.
Hmm.
No. And we were like, 4 or 5 to a room.
Oh, jeez.
But I didn't know any better. Like literally, I thought this was the best thing that in the world. I thought,
Yeah.
wow, how cool is this? I'm in this converted milk truck carrying these metal lighting fixtures across the country. And all of a sudden, I'm traveling through 15 different states there and back that I never would have never
Absolutely.
been to.
Yeah, I love
You know,
that.
and my aha moment, and I tell this story a lot because it's true. I believe in aha moments, and aha moments are what I wish for my own children. But my aha moment, it was my turn to drive, and I'll never forget. We were coming back across. The shows are done, and we're driving through Wyoming, which, if you've driven through Wyoming, is a beautiful state. It's very flat in places. But anyways, I'm driving, and it's about 5 a.m. We're heading east, and like there's a killer. I had like a Kansas cassette, and we're listening to this Kansas cassette, and the sun is rising. And my aha moment was, I love everything about what's happening right now, and this is
That's
exactly
so
what I want to
cool.
do for the rest of my
That
life.
is so cool. That is amazing. I
And that was
love
my
that
aha
story.
moment.
Yeah.
And I don't regret it, man. I mean, has it been hard? Yeah, absolutely. The hardest
Yeah.
part were at that time really figuring out how to get into the industry and how to how can I go pay my bills doing what I want for a living. And honestly,
Yeah.
so that's 1991. I did not go and was able to tour like as a career until 95. So 91 to 95 in my life is this era of literally I worked at McDonald's. I
Yeah.
did land surveying. I worked at Sears putting tires on cars. But then I'd go gig on weekends for little local lighting companies or little small bands that could afford to pay me the literally $25 to $50 a show
Yeah.
at that time. But I just wanted to do it. And I was like, whatever I need to do at that time, if I've got to go work this shitty job, just to be able to go and, still to go do lights on the weekends, that's
Well, and learning your trade too, like
it
getting
is.
better at it,
Yeah.
practicing, basically getting paid a tiny little bit of money to get better at what you really want to be doing for your life. So I love that. Bravo, bravo on the aha moments, because I used to always talk to people like that about that on this podcast. The aha moments are one of the things that really just keep you coming back and back and back. In golf, it's sinking that 40-foot putt or getting a hole in one or whatever. In our industry, it's, house lights out and the crowd goes nuts, and that first note of the first song when the lights come on, it's incredible. And every LD that I know is like, gets goosebumps when you talk about that, even though they've done it 1,000 times or more. So
Completely agree, and I'll add me to that list, because if you were to ask me what's my favorite part about a show, man, the sound the crowd makes when the house lights go down is always, man, there's something about that, and
yeah,
I've never taken that moment for granted. And as I stepped away from the role of being a touring LD years ago and becoming more of a designer, as I've designed tours and I'm having the conversations with the touring LD, and we're working on the focuses during the day and things like that. One of the things I always point out to the LDs is I want you to, and this is going to sound cheesy and I recognize that, but I mean what I'm about to say is I want you to look around the arena and look way up high in the 300 level, look around, and I want you to think about this, that tonight is somebody's date night that they've been saving a lot of money for, that they probably couldn't afford to go to. Tonight is somebody's very first concert. Tonight
yep,
may be somebody's very last concert. So
yep,
everybody in this room matters. And even if it's as easy as when you do your audience wash, just because you're at front of house, that's not where the whole audience is. You look
yeah,
around the whole 270 degrees of the arena and paint the audience as it's sold and let everybody have an experience. And I
yeah.
mean,
Chris, that's such an important point. And if you ever get a chance, listen to the podcast that actually just came out today with Scott DeVos, who you probably know, another
yeah,
local. But we talked about that same thing. He just said every single person in here is creating a story. And like a lot of these people are going to 30 years from now say, I was in so-and-so place and I saw such and such band and I'll never forget blah, 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 whatever happened. And sometimes it's a lighting look. Sometimes it's a note that somebody played or a guitar solo.
yeah,
Sometimes the singer fell off the stage because they were drunk. I mean, just all of those things, these are memories being created. And if you undervalue that, you probably don't belong in this business.
I
It's
agree.
such an important thing.
It's
But
very important.
you were saying your favorite moment every night is, house lights out and
Outside
the
down,
audience goes nuts.
crowd screams.
I would give you an example where that doesn't count, or when that's not my favorite moment. So in the same year, I was involved with, I think Steve Cohen had both Britney and NSYNC, and this was like in the 90s or 2000 or something, when they were both at the pinnacle of their career. House lights go out. I've never heard a sound like this. Like, it's probably one of the only times that I actually wore earplugs at a concert. And it wasn't because of the music. It was because of the audience started screaming when the house lights went out. And they never stopped until after when the house lights came back on, basically.
Yeah.
They never stopped.
Have you had a chance and I haven't seen this, but have you seen Taylor Swift? Have you seen the Era Tour at all?
No.
From colleagues that have gone, it sounds like a similar experience. Like
Yeah.
that sounds like an immersive audience experience that really, you talking about people that there's definitely a lot of people going to their first concert in that crowd, but that are having just such a good time.
They're
And
pretty passionate.
I've heard that the energy in there does not stop all night. That it's just
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah. Yeah. As great as Taylor Swift is and as much money as she's made, and as I'm sure the show is wonderful and stuff, I've gotten to an age and to a point in my career where I don't really go to shows unless I kind of want to see them, or unless there's people there that I really, really need to see or want to see.
Yeah.
And she just didn't check any of those boxes. So,
Yeah.
I've avoided that one somehow. But anyways,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Now, it's funny how we get jaded about concerts, and my wife, I love her. She's a huge person and
yeah,
loves concerts. And like literally, I'm like you just said, I'm at the point right now. There's very few people I a want to pay a ticket to see, and b
yeah,
even if you give me a comp ticket that I really want to see. So I've had to learn to suck it up, and it's
yeah,
kind of you still got to have date nights, but like we went and saw 2 weeks ago, we went and saw Foreigner and Styx, and
yeah.
and we bought a ticket and we had a great time. But I'm literally there. I'm like, it's hard not to get distracted, look up at lights, but it was so fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, those are both great bands, even though
Yeah,
one of them's a cover band. But
you're not
yeah, I
wrong.
mean, they're both great bands, and both have great. And by the way, they both sound incredible.
They were
Again,
both great.
Foreigner is a cover band, unfortunately, but that singer, the guy from what band was he in the '80s?
Oh gosh.
He was in not Halloween, but one of those kind of '80s. No, Hurricane.
Yeah,
Hurricane. That's what it was. I knew it was an H word. But
yeah,
he's a fantastic singer, and he's quitting now because I think he's 70 or something. But he does an awesome Lou Gramm, and they've just done an incredible job carrying on that legacy. But there are no original members in that band. Every once in a while, Lou Gramm will come out and do a song, or what's his name, the old guitar player will come out and play a song. But Styx, like Tommy Shaw, blows my mind.
yeah,
That guy is so talented, and he still sings so well
yeah,
and looks like a rock star still. God bless him. I mean, there's a handful of those guys. Him, Steve Perry, Steve Perry, Steven Tyler. Sorry, I was mixing up a bunch of people in there. But Steven Tyler, Sammy Hagar doesn't look so good anymore, but he still sings like a bird at 76 years old. Those guys blow my mind. Like,
yeah.
I know how hard it is. I just turned 60, and doing some of the things, especially singing songs that I did in bands when I was in my late teens, trying to do those now, forget it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
There's just no possibility.
No, I
But
agree. I know. I feel I'm 51 now, but I think every morning I'm reminded of my age when my knees creak.
oh yeah, yeah, I know all that stuff. Trust me. I have a remedy for that, but we'll talk about that later. Um, but yeah, it's age is not something that any of us are going to escape, but there's certainly ways to improve your journey through age, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been focused on for the last 10 years or so. My dad died of a heart attack when he was very young, 52 years old.
Oh wow.
And so I've always tried to, ever since at least I turned 50, mellowed out on the drinking completely. Like now a heavy night for me might be 2 glasses of wine.
Right.
And all the other bad stuff has just been gone for years. So
Yeah.
even I don't even smoke cigars anymore. Like on occasion, I might have one once every 6 months or something. But
Right.
it's just like live clean.
Yeah. I get it. I try.
Yeah.
I don't always
Yeah.
succeed, but I try.
Yeah. So you actually started your company in 91, did you?
Well, I mean, I started in 91. I didn't become CLLD LLC until, oh my gosh, much later. I wouldn't call it '07. Um,
Okay.
when I actually formed the company. Because again, I took this journey of lighting director and occasional production manager a lot of my career, but realized I started to get more into the design phase of my career, and I actually bought a little bit of gear. I think I bought some consoles from somebody from you, maybe I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but then I decided to form the LLC, and
Smart.
that
Yeah.
yeah, do it the right way and make sure I was covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said that until 95 you were working any odd job you could and then doing lights on the weekend. So at what point did it become like a full-time gig?
So I got a call in April of '95 from a friend of mine that I had been doing some of these club shows with. And as everybody, we all know, this industry is relationship based.
Oh, yeah.
So this guy calls me. I had a pager, and he beat me. And I was out land surveying. He goes, "Hey, I got a tour for you, but you got to leave Sunday." And this is like a Tuesday. He said, "You got to leave
Jesus.
Sunday. It's the Walmart Country Music Across America tour." I said, "Whoa." And so he said, "Call this guy." So I called this guy and I said, "What's going on?" He goes, "Well, we got this tour. It plays Walmart parking lots 7 days a week. The tour
Holy
goes.
shit.
It had already been going for maybe 8 weeks at that point. It goes all the way till late October, 7 days a week. It's on a little SL100 stage. It's got like I think I had 30 par cans, but we need somebody to come be the LD, and we need to get somebody out there on Sunday." I'm like, "Okay." So I sat there and I thought about it. It's like, well, I've got to quit 2 jobs because I was doing land surveying during the day and working at Sears at night, putting tires on cars. I had my own duplex, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. So within 3 or 4 days, I quit both jobs, put everything in
Wow.
storage, broke my lease. And on Saturday, I picked up a 15-foot box truck that had some replacement gear, drove to Sherman, Texas, just outside of Dallas. And the very next day, did my first of 181 shows straight on the Walmart
Wow.
Music Tour.
7 days a week you were working for
7 days a
181
week,
days.
7 days without a day off. Yeah.
Jeez, you made some
Yeah.
money.
Well,
I mean, at the time.
well, let me tell you, it was enough money that quitting both jobs, I was like, "Oh yeah, let's do this." But even then, now that I look back, I was like, "Was that really great money? Probably not." But that tour and the relationships I made on that tour, without a doubt, started the trajectory for my career to go to the next level. Because on that tour, every Monday we got 2 new bands. So you got to keep in mind, this is '95. This is when that '90s era country is just popping. And so
Yeah.
these record labels would put 2 new bands out every week to play the Walmart tour. So every week I'm meeting 2 new TMs, 2 new PMs, and I'm this 23-year-old kid, I guess at that time, out there flashing lights during the day, nonetheless, in
Yeah.
Texas. Um, and I just met great people, and I learned to stay in touch with them. But
Yeah.
man, it was a fun tour.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, what a way to build your chops too, like to learn so much and meet so many people and, you know, I mean, what a tough schedule though, 181 days straight. Jesus.
I want to be clear. So let me just real quick. I'll tell you our typical day, and this is because we would only drive 50 miles a day. We had an RV and a box truck, and then the stage. And the stage was pulled by a dually that had a generator on the front. And so we would load in about 9 or 10. By noon, 1 o'clock, we were set up. The bands would come in and sound check. One band would play 7 to 7:45. The other one would play 8 to 8:45. We were typically loaded out by 9:30, 9:45, and we would go get a
Yeah.
hotel and then get up the next morning, drive 50 miles, and do it all over again.
Oh, so it wasn't brutal. It wasn't
No,
like, yeah, like a
but
real load in.
we we definitely we learned our Walmarts very well,
Yeah.
and we learned which we definitely judged them by their restroom cleanliness, if they had a McDonald's built into it or not.
Uh,
We had a lot of fun that tour. Probably too much fun because the next year, that was '95. I came back the next year. The tour was so successful. They did it the next year. They went up a stage size. I went from being LD to stage manager, but we all had to sign waivers agreeing that we wouldn't sleep with Walmart employees
that's
because,
funny. That
because
is
of
funny. Well, I can
not.
tell you right now, I swear to God, I've never slept with a Walmart employee. Not
I'm
one.
going to say that I was a good kid.
Yeah.
I probably had some questionable moments, but the
Yeah.
waivers were definitely directed to other people. I fell under
That's
that.
so funny though. That's hilarious that they felt the
Can't
need to
sleep
do
with.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's wild. What a cool story. And
yeah.
so a couple of questions. One, did they pay your per diem in like Walmart dollars or something?
Uh,
Yeah.
we got cash per diem, but man, we got so bored. We would go. We obviously we walked in Walmart every day. The amount of useless shit I came home with from that tour. I had a
Yeah.
whole crate of useless shit. Like we would we would make these rocket cars out of rocket parts because Walmart sold the model rocket
Okay.
kits, and we would go buy these big plastic cheap cars, put rockets under them, and have rocket car races. And then I think there was a fire, so we couldn't do that anymore. Um,
That's
but we had
hilarious.
a lot of fun. I mean, we were all kids, man, playing
Yeah.
Wombats, you
Well,
know?
I could only imagine, like, for me, because I've always been a little bit entrepreneurial, I think I would probably be buying things in one town and then finding the town I could return them and make a profit. you know so I'd buy things just to return them, and I'd be calling around going, hey, how much are your ladies bra model whatever, and then I'd buy 40 of those and return them in the next town or something.
Yeah, man.
But anyways, yeah, that's a cool story. What a interesting way to start your career. I mean, really, it's like bang, here you go, all at once. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So obviously from there it's gone pretty well, and you've built a real career of it, and a great career, by the way. You've done a lot of really cool stuff, which I want to talk about. But one other question I want to ask before I forget you. Or before I forget about it, before I forget you. One of the really cool things I love about being able to do this podcast is the early stories. And, a lot of people much older than you who talk about, like, one day I was just outside playing with the kids, and somebody drove up with a pickup truck and said, hey, jump in, I got a gig for you. And they're like, what's a gig? Come on, or whatever. Like, one day you're a sheep herder and the next day you're on AC/DC tour or something. And so many careers in our industry. And in fact, if you look at people over maybe 55 or 60 years old in our industry, almost all of them didn't go to school for this, didn't go to any kind of theater or technical school or anything.
Yeah.
They were at a crossroads in their life, and it was join the military or go on tour with this band, or whatever it was. And I think part of that is because back then it was much less structured. Obviously, we didn't know it wasn't an industry. It was sort of like a traveling circus kind of thing, right? And there weren't experts yet. There wasn't a lot of expertise. It was pretty simplistic systems and products and stuff. Like you said, a tree, with 4 lights on each side of the stage or whatever. But I think, like me, you've probably noticed a big shift now where obviously it's much more corporate. You do have a lot of training available for people, much more rigid, formal training available for people in schools.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
It seems like an easier path than just winging it and hoping that somebody comes and throws you in the back of a pickup truck or whatever.
Well, no, to your point, and I know we're going to talk about this. That's one of the reasons Touring Career Workshop exists, is because this isn't a fly by the seat of your pants kind of joke job. That shouldn't say joke job, but I'm saying it. I feel like the career of being, and I don't like the word roadie, but the career of being in the live entertainment field had a lot of negative connotations in its early adoption, and
some of them deserved.
You know what I'm saying? Like vagabonds and just maybe not well organized, and people just kind of flying by the seat of their pants. This is a sustainable, real career now, and that's the big change. Is that we've got people that can look at this and go, "No, I'm going to do this for a living. I'm going to retire doing this, and I love what I do for a living." It's not a joke. It's a serious.
Some of those negative things you talk about, I think, are well earned. Heavy drug use and partying and all this stuff, especially from the 70s to the 90s kind of thing. Like, I think when you got into the 2000s, it started to get more serious, more corporate. I think a lot of companies started having, very strict policies with regard to what you were doing with your downtime or what you were ingesting in your body or whatever. You're even seeing healthier food on tour buses and things like that. After show stuff is getting healthier, which is all good. And I'm sure you're a part of that. Your workshop is part of that. And I want to talk a whole bunch about that. But, so some of it's deserved, but I think there's still sort of a negative idea of our industry being, carny. It's a carnival. It's a traveling carnival. And those carnivals that set up in parking lots, with the zipper and all of those rides. And I hate to say it, but most of the people operating those rides, I look at them and I'm like, I ain't putting my kid on that ride.
Right.
You know,
Sure.
like they look like they haven't showered in 2 weeks and they're high on something. I don't know what, but so they seem to be still where we were like 30 years ago as an industry, right?
Yes, I agree.
So, but I think that there is still I think there are people, especially like my son, because that's one of the things I talked to my son about, who's 20 now. And I said, would you be interested in going on tour for a couple of years just to A, see the world, B, learn the industry, and then come back and work for me? And he's like, why would I want to do that? Like, what's that all about? And he has no idea. To him, it just looks like a weird thing, like,
Yeah,
why would
right.
I do that? That just seems really strange.
Yeah,
But I think if he actually went and did it for a few months, he'd be hooked. He'd never want to do anything different.
right. No, I agree. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
still a lot of misconceptions about our world and what happens and what goes into it. Um, but yeah, I love how far we've come. I love how diverse our industry's become. I
Yeah.
mean, when I was first starting to tour, most of my career was straight white males, and we are
Yeah.
so diverse now, and I love that we've
Yeah.
become because I use this term on another podcast and I mean it, but we really are this big goofy island of misfit toys. We're
Yeah.
all unique in our own ways and characteristics, and got our quirks and our things, and it works. We
Yeah.
all together and get the show done, and I love that.
Yeah. And it's not dissimilar to the racing world, where I've spent, because of my kid, the last 13 or 14 years. Similar people, very, very smart people who travel with this circus, and they're racing engineers and they're coaches, and just all these people with all of this information and stuff, but they're just looked at as a bunch of goofball, mechanics. Basically, you're a
Yeah,
mechanic. No, I'm a motorsports engineer, and they
yeah,
actually went to school though for motorsports engineering.
right,
But again, 20 years ago they didn't, or 30
right,
years ago they didn't. There was no such school. It
sure,
was just a bunch of Yahoo guys who just learned a lot about how to make cars go fast, and therefore got hired.
yeah.
Um, so you founded this touring career workshop.
Myself and a guy named Eric Parker, who a friend of mine. Actually, I taught at Belmont as an adjunct for 10 years, and he was one of my students who ended
Oh,
up.
interesting.
And he's got a great career in the industry. And but he and I formed this in 2011, and it was really formed out of seeing this need within our industry of having some kind of collective human resource information. I hit a point in my career where I was getting a lot of questions. Hey, who do you use for accounting? And hey, how do you do your quarterly taxes? And what are you doing for your health insurance? That we kind of brainstormed and had this idea of putting together this workshop, in which we did the first one in November of 2011. And the idea was simple: is that we were going to have these guest speakers come up and talk about all these different topics from, again, health insurance, tax planning, retirement planning, all the way down to how do you stay fit on the road, how do you make your marriage or relationship work on the road, all these different topics. And that first workshop, well, again, in 2011, we had 50 attendees. It went very well, to the point that between 2011 and 2012, we went ahead and became an official 501c3 and moved it over to the Soundcheck complex in 2012. And it's just grown since then.
Huh.
We still do the big fall workshop every year. We have a great board of directors now, with a lot of industry pros, TMs, PMs, a lot of vendor employed persons, just a very good, diverse board. But what I'm most excited about what we've done is our ventures into the mental health field.
Yeah.
You know,
Very necessary.
yeah, if you're cool with me talking about it, I'd love to share a little about that.
No, I want
Yeah,
to talk about it because I've actually had podcasts just to talk to people about that. Because, one of the things I did during COVID, I started this weekly Zoom thing, and a lot of that had to do with mental health, because I had people reaching out to me, friends or friends of friends, who were like, I don't know what to do.
yeah,
I'm useless. I can't take care of my family. I can't do this. I probably would be better off if I weren't here. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on a sec. Where are you? I'm going to
yeah,
come see you, with a
yeah,
mask on, but I'm
yeah,
going to come see you. you know, there were people that just didn't know how to cope with this stuff. And there were also people who didn't know, like the other stuff you talked about. Like, I coached so many people, and I can't, looking back, it's hard to believe. But in the beginning of 2020, not a lot of people knew how to use Zoom. And I spoke to so many business owners who didn't know how to move their files into the cloud because they were using these on-prem servers, and they had no idea how to use like Google Drive or Dropbox or any of those things. And so I was actually coaching people for free as a just a friend. I was showing people how to set up on Zoom, how to set their company up with, you know, a Google Drive setup, and move all of your files on there so that you could work from home without having to drag a server home or VPN into the office or whatever it was, right? There was so much need out there. And then I started doing these weekly Zooms, and, you know, it was just really about camaraderie, helping each other, sharing ideas. You know, we talked a lot about probably some of the stuff you were much more officially talking about. And I wish we would have gotten together on some of this stuff, but I'm a 1099. How do I get taken care of? You know, I have an LLC, but it's only got one employee. How do I get taken care of? Can I get any of that PPE money or whatever?
Yep.
And so we were bringing in experts to talk about that. We were sharing information on that. Certainly, you know, bringing Strickland in every couple of weeks onto our discussions was helpful because he had the handle on what was going on congressionally or within the government. Sort of. I mean, you know, it was pretty hard to have a real idea of what was going on there because they shared with you what they wanted. But yeah, I mean, sorry to go on and on and on, but I think this is such an important topic, and the mental health thing just kind of rose above everything because even, and I won't mention any names, but seasoned like lighting designers or sound engineers or production managers who've been doing this for 40 years after the Zoom call were calling me up and going, Marcel, I'm really struggling. Like, either I'm struggling super financially, or my wife and I are about to get divorced because she can't stand that I'm in the house for 6 months in a row. Or, you know, like I've become a drug addict because I'm at home and I don't know what to do with my time.
Yeah.
I've heard so many of those stories, and it was just so sad that I had nowhere to send anyone. So I was reaching out to, like, you know, Lori Rubenstein and different people like that, and just saying, can you help these people? You know, like, is there anything you can do to help these people? Because I feel like we're going to lose some of these people either, you know, through overdose or through eating themselves to death or through suicide.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, it's, you know, it was definitely, I think that's another pandemic thing, was a really big wake up call and directive toward making mental health an important factor in all, and, you know, addressing mental health in our lives. And I think I love where the conversation's at now. I love that it's an honest conversation. I think that's great. So in 2014, we started what we call our standard all access program. That program's pretty straightforward. Basically, through that program, we have several counselors throughout the country that we have agreed upon set rates with. You go to our website, you make an appointment with the counselor. We will pay for up to 4 sessions per year of counseling, no questions asked. It's super simple. Like, literally, find the counselor, make the appointment. They send us a bill, we pay it. And
how are you doing that? Is that through sponsorship or
through our, you know, because we are a 501c3, we do have sponsors, we have donors. It's part of what that funding goes to.
Wow, that's incredible.
Actually, a huge part of what that funding goes to.
That's really, really great. That's amazing.
I think to date, we've paid for almost 500 sessions of counseling.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what? If those 500 sessions of counseling saved one person, well worth it.
Oh, undoubtedly.
Well worth it. Yeah.
And honestly, last year, after something that happened here in town, I ended up opening it up to, we ended up opening it up to spouses and partners as well. So not just if you are working in the live entertainment industry full time, but your spouse or your partner as well is welcome to those 4 sessions per year. And after those 4 sessions, we don't just turn you loose. We've got other resources we can point you to, or worst case, we'll keep paying for them. Like, if it's at that point, you can't afford it, we'll keep paying.
Wow.
But that's been such an awesome thing to watch that come to life, Well, the next phase of that, one of our board members, Brandon Sossaman, is he's the director of production for C3 Presents. C3 obviously the biggest festival producer in the entire country.
Yeah,
He's
huge.
on our board. He at a board meeting last spring. He goes, "What about taking counselors and bringing them on site to some of our festivals?" And the next thing I know, at Bonnaroo last year, 23, we brought in counselors. We set up back by Artist Village. We had a trailer, and we ended up bringing in counselors. That was on show days from 9 to 5 or whatever the hours were. But we ended up doing 22 sessions of counseling at Bonnaroo last year, and we were
Jeez.
like, "Man, this is on something." So we call that program All Access on Site, and it's blown up to the point that this year I think we're at 9 or 10 different festivals. We've hired a program coordinator that just focuses on growing and building that program, implementing, on site, being there on site, running it, finding our therapists that are on site. And man, it's been beautiful to watch that thing take off. Like we've
And
been to,
just so I understand, so that's for crew specifically, and it's free.
Oh, 100% free. And it's for anybody who makes, I like to, it's a very broad strokes, anybody that makes their living working in live entertainment. So artists, band, crew, site ops people, if you make your living working around entertainment, you're welcome to, and we've got QR codes at these festivals. We're going in putting QR codes in every dressing room. They're in catering. They're in every office. So that, man, if you're having a rough day, some shit may be going down at home, you scan the QR code, make your appointment. And we typically even have 2 therapists on at any given time. We've even had quite a bit of walk-ups. Like literally, people walk up and go, "Man, I really could go. I could talk to someone," and right in the trailer. And
That's
without getting
interesting.
into detail, some of the feedback we've got has been to your point a while ago about if it saved one person's life. I can undoubtedly say that this program has definitely saved at least one person's life.
That is incredible. Good on you, man. Congrats. Like that's so good and so important. Again, this is like some people might say, "Come on, tough it out. Come on. What are you doing? Why are you having so much trouble? You're in paradise. You're out there on Bonnaroo. You're working on a festival with a bunch of pop stars and stuff. How rough is your life? You could be digging ditches,
Yeah,
but you don't know what it's like to live with a bunch of strangers on a tour bus or to, you know, I mean, there are challenges to this industry that I think are unlike most others, if not every other.
yeah,
And look at all the musicians who are wildly successful and commit suicide. You
yeah,
know, same thing. Like it's a weird dynamic. When you get to such a high during the show, sometimes in more ways than one, and then boom, you come crashing down because the night's over. And what do you do now? And that's
yeah.
when artists typically get involved in all of the bad things that end up killing them a lot of times, or at least turning them into addicts.
Well,
Of
improve people too. Same thing. I mean,
Yeah,
look at the hours we work, the working conditions,
yeah,
the healthy lifestyle with lack of exercise and typically overeating or not eating right. I know not everybody does it. I'm just, it is a problem. And then you add in being gone away from your partner, your spouse, your children, your whatever's at home. You add in all these factors, mix in some addiction. I mean, you got people with some real problems that just
yeah.
gets compounded. And again, like I said, lack of sleep. If you're only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night,
No
it's
good.
snowballs,
No
man.
bueno.
No, it's not
Yeah.
good.
No, it's just not until you find a healthy routine through all of that, it's not a healthy lifestyle. It just isn't, and even just the sleep thing. Like, it took me 50 some odd years to figure out, hey, this sleep thing is kind of important. Like I thought you just slept because you were tired. You didn't sleep to, keep yourself alive. Like it
Right.
wasn't a huge part of your health, but it
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
Now, so the workshop happens, you said every fall?
Every fall. So this year will be on Tuesday, November 12th. We're back at the same. We're still at Soundcheck Annex. Once they move to Rock Nashville, and that's done in a year or two, we'll move out there. But yeah, it's a free event. Basically, it's we typically do doors at 4. Event starts around 5. It starts out with a general session, typically a keynote speaker, and then from there it goes into 3 groupings of breakout sessions of 45 minutes each, where attendees can pick and they can find a track or a breakout that works for them. And then we wrap it up again at the end of the night with some what we call networking time. Just because that is, again, this industry is all based off relationships. So
That's
if we
the
can,
biggest part of it.
while we've got people in the room, they get FaceTime with some of the sponsors that are there, and then they get to know each other. And that all helps foster that community mentality that we have.
So what kinds of workshops or like what are they going to learn there?
We're still in the planning phases for this year. We have what we call our standards. Our standards are we always have a tax planning. We always have a retirement planning. We always have a health insurance. We always have a mental health component. But then we start looking at other things like how do you write your resume, or how to administer Narcan, or how to do some body weight exercises on the road. How do you manage being a parent while you're on the road? Getting the most out of your air miles. Buying your first house. I mean, literally every year, other than our standards I listed, we try to break it up so that as people come back every year, if they're all good on the tax planning front, they can go learn about something else.
Yeah, that is great. So this is really for touring professionals. It's not for new people trying to get into the touring business or anything. Well, this is for more so for people who are in it or even new to it, but you're in it and you know the troubles, you know the parts that you're missing, you know what you don't know.
Correct. But we want all live event people in there, whether you work in festivals or touring. But the thing I'll tell you is we do get a lot of young people. We do have a couple of sessions we'll do that are curated toward young people that really just tease them with some of the career paths they can take. But the goal, one of the big goals we've always had with this organization is that I would rather get somebody in there with their 20s to start thinking about a retirement plan than waiting till their 50s and going, oh shit, what do I do? And you and I both know that happens. So, can I go make a 22-year-old go get a 401k or an IRA? No. But if you can get them thinking and get that on their radar, maybe they will.
Yeah.
And so the goal is capturing them young enough that they're thinking, oh, yeah, I probably should be thinking. I know retirement's 45 years away, but I probably should be thinking about what that looks like.
Yeah. I mean, it's all so important. And most companies in our industry don't have that kind of information available to them. So the fact that these, roadies, like you said, not always the greatest term, but the fact that they have those types of resources available to them is incredible. And, I applaud you for putting that together because I know you're not making money on it. It is a 501c3. You're doing it because it's important and because you love doing it. So just a couple of things about it. So you said it's run by a board?
Yeah, we have a board. There's 14 of us on the board.
Okay, so how often does the board get together? Is it like quarterly meetings?
We do quarterly meetings. Yeah, in fact, we did our quarter 3 meeting last Tuesday in which we talked about the fall workshop and starting to really dive into theme. We always try to have a theme, whatever's relevant to our industry at the time, but also diving into what's going on the road. What's the hot topics? What do we want to address? And so, we're diving into that now.
Interesting. Yeah. And how do people find it?
We do a lot on our socials. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And then our website, too, touringcareerworkshop.com, has a lot of good information. We try to keep people up to date. And then we have an email list. We'll do email blast every now and then just to kind of make people aware of the big events that we're doing. We do, in addition to the fall workshop, we do monthly events we call Day Off. We have one of our board members, Sharon Lee. She owns High Road Trucking, had this idea. And her idea was let's give an opportunity for touring people to get together once a month, but not necessarily in a bar environment. Not that that's wrong. I love a good bar environment, but
you're promoting all this stuff you're trying to teach people to stay away from. Yeah, that's the hard part.
Yeah. So we've done things like we've done. We went to a baseball game. They went kayaking. We did Top Golf. We've done all these other things.
Smart.
Just again, giving people the opportunity to just get together and get to know each other. And we do those every month.
That's cool. That's really cool. It sounds like you're well funded. So is that industry funding or is that more on the sort of supply side, like these, whether it's HR companies or payroll companies or those types of...
I will say, yes, we are well funded, but we could always use more. So anybody out there listening, don't forget us. But say that because we're actually getting ready to start our big donation drive here in the next couple of weeks. But no, all of our donation money comes from vendors, manufacturers, and companies associated with live entertainment.
Yeah,
You know, pretty much if you name a production vendor in Nashville, they have or do sponsor us now.
that's cool.
Again, manufacturers have stepped up. We've, Roby and Elation and Chauvet, they've all been great sponsors of ours for years.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Really,
Mm-hmm.
really great. You know, through the podcast, we'd love to help however we can. So, just reach out to me, reach out to Sarah, and just say, hey, if you guys could help us promote this, or if you could help with this. The podcast itself doesn't make a lot of money, so it's
Sure.
not like we're going to be throwing out sponsorship dollars or anything, but certainly will help bring in sponsors. Similar to some of the stuff I've done with Jim Digby and the ESA,
Mm-hmm.
just promoting the ESA and
Sure.
talking about it as at any opportunity. I think. Do you involve yourself with them a little bit
I
as
do.
well, or
I love Jim. I think he's a great man.
he is?
He's been a part of our workshops 2 or 3 times. He was actually our keynote several years ago, and I'm a member of the ESA. I think I love what they do. I think they're
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. It's an important organization, and it's really a sad but interesting story on how it kind of came about, or how the need for it came about with Jim.
Mm.
When the system went crazy and killed a girl.
Yeah.
It was an incredible story. I was like, oh my God, like I
Yeah.
didn't know the story when he told it to me on the podcast, but, and I understand you also get involved with the ACMs and CMAs, and so you're a board kind of guy.
Yeah, well, yeah. Apparently, well, I'm an admitted workaholic. I don't have a ton of hobbies, so I love to work. I love our industry. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
on the board of the ACMs and CMAs. I'm one of the. There's only a couple of live event people on the boards, and so I love being a representative for our industry on there because in both boards we're doing great things.
Yeah.
With financial support. On both of those boards have charitable wings that have done a lot of great financial support for our industry, but also they both back mental health initiatives and just general, seminars and other networking things that they do. CMAs host the touring awards.
Yeah.
It's become this great event here in Nashville that it's like a high school reunion. It's that one time a year we know we're all going to be in the same room and get to celebrate each other. And make real quick on that because I think it's such a great event. We do that every January, but the amount of artists that show up to support their crews is one of the most beautiful things I've seen. I got on stage this year to talk about a mentorship program we're doing at the CMAs, and I look out and there's Lainey Wilson and Chris Stapleton and the Old Dominion guys, all there doing nothing but supporting their crews, and that always means
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, and I hate to suggest that I'm putting down any other artists, but country artists seem to be much more into that kind of thing, like our crew is our family more so than the pop stars and even some of the rock stars and stuff. Not sure why, like, I don't even know if that's fully true, but that's the impression that I get.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's the Nashville touring model has always been one of the beautiful things I love about this industry. We call it the weekend warrior model, where you leave out on Wednesday night and you do shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and you're home Sunday. So you're getting this beautiful balance of home life with your family and then road life. And because so many of the artists embrace that lifestyle as well, so many of these country artists, they literally do treat their crews like family. And
Yeah.
the pandemic here in town, I can't speak to the rock world because I don't do a lot in that world other than festival stuff. But the country industry, most artists took care of their people during the pandemic so well. When they had no income, no shows, they did their best. Even if they can only pay 25% of salary or whatever it was, they did their best to help. And
Yeah.
it just shows you what country music artists are like.
Well, I know a lot of rock bands that didn't, and I won't mention specific names, but, there's a particular very good friend of mine who's worked for a band for a lot of years, and he was practically destitute. And, the band, who had loads and loads and loads of money, didn't take care of any of their people. And, it caused him to be a little bit, angry
Yeah.
or or sad. You know, I don't know. He was just like, I can't believe after having served these people for so long that they're just leaving me to rot, and everyone else too, not just me. I wasn't prepared for this, but neither was anybody else around me.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to hear that so many artists were not that way.
Oh, absolutely. No, it was really, I loved watching who truly cared about their people and who
Yeah.
stood up and did. It was a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah. I mean, so your kids are all grown up, right? So it's not like they're all going, Daddy, 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 let's go to the park. I want to throw the
Yeah, no,
football.
our youngest is getting ready to enter his senior year in high school, so we're on the home stretch here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was just curious because I know one of the challenges in our industry, summers, especially when you're big into festivals like you are, summers tend to get eaten up with a lot of work. And that means less family time, less ability to go do things with your kids. And kids, I think, are pretty awesome at understanding that for the most part. I think some of them get angry when they turn into teenagers and they start thinking their parents are the devil because they didn't play baseball with them every, you know, Saturday like other dads did or whatever.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I guess yours are grown up, so that's not as much of an issue.
They are, but look, I'll tell you, especially as I look back, like, and we all know this. All of any of us that has raised a child in this industry know this. I mean, you definitely have some cats in the cradle moments where you realize that you missed out on a lot of stuff,
Oh yeah.
and I hate it. It'll be one of my life's regrets that I
Yeah.
missed out. I missed out on a lot of first days of school, but I've tried to be there for as much as I could. And the other thing I've done is I try to make what time I do have count. Like when I'm home, like today, and I'm working, I will try to shut down at 5 o'clock, and
Yeah,
unless
good for you.
emails urgent, no 5 o'clock till I go to bed, which at my
Yeah.
age not that much later.
Yeah.
That's family time. That's
Yeah.
family.
Good for you.
And even to your point, looking at my summer schedule, um, is making sure these little 3 or 4 day pockets of time I have between festivals that we book some. We just got back yesterday from going to the Smoky Mountains just because that was the 4 or 5 days we could fit it in to go
Yeah.
do things as a family.
Good for you. Yeah. That stuff's important, man. Like, I mean, if you came back from, you know, a 4 week tour or something and went to play golf with your buddies for 3 days, what message is that sending to your wife or to your kids or whatever, right? It's like,
Yeah.
hey, you're not very important to me. These my buddies playing golf, that's more important to me. Yeah, not so good. Probably
Yeah.
not the smartest thing you've done, right? But but yeah, no, it's great to hear that you've got that kind of balance going on because it is hard. I mean, for me, not so much. You know, I've always either been on the vendor side, the manufacturer side, or you know, with Gear Source, it's a remote company, so literally you can be anywhere in the world and run that company. And so the bigger problem with me was my son's racing because he was racing 2 or 3 weekends a month usually, and that a weekend was usually leave on Wednesday, come back on Monday. So, you know, it's pretty much a week.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is, you know, my ex-wife, myself, and my son, we all celebrated a lot of birthdays, a lot of wedding anniversaries, a lot of different things at the racetrack as opposed
Yeah.
to, you know, at a resort or something, right?
Sure.
But it is what it is. So these are
Yeah.
the sacrifices, whether it was for his career or for my career or whatever, right?
Do what you got
But
to do.
yeah. Did we miss anything? I feel like uh, we've missed something here. So what are you doing now? Like lots and lots of festivals, I guess, for the summer.
Yeah, I've got my career's in a really cool spot. I still put out 2 or 3 tours a year because I love tour design. It's
Yeah.
so fun. I love putting on that creative hat. And I still get to put out 2 or 3 tours a year, but a lot of my work has become festival work and special
Yeah.
event work. What I love about that, two things I love is I love looking at my calendar in January knowing, oh, I've got these 10 things already lined up for the remainder of the year. But I also love the idea of staying in a hotel or Airbnb for a week.
Yeah.
Um, kind of the other thing I love about festival work is at any given time, like we leave for Lollapalooza this Sunday, I'm going to come across 40 LDs while I'm there. Just,
That is awesome.
getting to see them, see old friends, make some new friends, and
Yeah.
put on that hat and just interact with them. I really enjoy that.
Yeah. You need to try and keep up with Cosmo on the selfies though, you know.
He's the king
Cosmo
of self.
is
I got
Cosmo
nothing.
is the selfie king. You know, hey, look who I'm with now. Look who I'm with now. Look who I'm
Yeah,
with now.
yeah,
It's awesome. I mean, you know, some people I hear people poking at him, which I just kind of did. But I love the pictures because I'm like, oh my God, Bob! I haven't seen Bob in freaking 25 years or whatever,
yeah.
right? And you know, it's certainly better than the alternative, which is Bob's no longer with us.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, so I love those pictures, and
Oh,
I
it's
know that that's why Cosmo does it too. You know, nobody, I don't think on the planet has more friends than Cosmo does.
right.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, the sad thing is, you don't see anybody posting as many like obituaries as Cosmo either.
Yeah.
So that's the
Yeah.
downside of having lots of friends.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That is a good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But well, you know, I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah.
Sorry about the little snafu with
We're
Chrome
good.
at the beginning.
No, we
No,
made it. It's a Mac. I'm sure it's a Mac thing, but
nothing like pissing you off right before you got to get on and record a podcast.
no, technology pisses me off. No, I was glad to be here. I just
Yeah,
I get technologically challenged sometimes, but we
it
made it.
happens.
Matters.
No, we got it done, and I appreciate it. And for sure, reach out to us about the touring career workshop if there's anything at all we can do. Um, you know, promote something, help with something, whatever it is. Like it's an important thing, and I love what you're doing there.
Well, I appreciate it. We appreciate the support, and we'd love to have y'all even just help spread the word means a ton. Because, like I said, we are a 501c3. We do survive off donations, and so even just getting the word out helps a ton.
Yeah, yeah. And so again, for people to find that, it's touringcareerworkshop.com or go to any of the socials and just search for Touring Career Workshop.
Yep, I think we're at Touring Workshop on Instagram, and may even be the same thing on Facebook. But
Yeah,
yeah,
easy to
we
find.
definitely we do a good job of posting our event info on there and keeping everybody
Very
up to date
cool.
with what's going on.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Chris, and enjoy the rest of your summer.
Yes, sir. You too.